Hi, everyone. So sorry about that. We just lost you, unfortunately, during our transition from my presentation to Ian's. So I'm posting this new URL in our current event page, and I've invited Ian and Leah back over here, and we will just hang out for just a short minute while they pop in and see you all very, very shortly.
Just gave up on it.
Hi.
All right. We're back, and we have posted the URL in the previous post on the Google Hangouts so that you guys can all see that handy dandy. Just continuing to refresh those pages in case there are any questions that come up, but I think we should be online shortly. The DevPost team is also going to be tweeting out that new address in case you guys have any questions. So I'm going to actually hand it over to Ian to start his lovely presentation again. And just as a reminder, folks, if you are seeing this in delayed time, there is a cursor on the bottom of your screen, which you can go ahead and pull all the way to the right to join us in real time. And then we will be answering questions as we go. So Ian, whenever you're ready, please feel free.
I'm ready. I'm ready right now.
Awesome.
Okay, good. So let's say you have registered and you have been given some credentials, and so I'm going to go to that point where you are going back into Bluemix, and I'm not logged in now, and I'll simulate again going to the very front door of Bluemix. So I go to bluemix.net, and you'll see. Oh, let me start sharing my screen, which I think I'm not doing. I am now sharing my screen. And I will do again what I did before, which is just to go to the very front of Bluemix. So if I go to bluemix.net, this is the front door right here. So there's information here sort of about what Bluemix is and how to get started. We all have been through a registration process which has given us credentials, so I'm going to log in. And when I do so, I'm going to be logging into my own dashboard. So I choose to log in. It sends me to the login page you saw earlier with Serena. I supply those credentials. I've already got some, and it'll drop me into the Bluemix dashboard. And the dashboard is our effort to organize quite a lot of information. So let's go through sort of what you see in the dashboard. I'll talk just a little bit about what's here, what sort of options you have, where your stuff is. Where's your stuff, and how do you make an app? First of all, I think there's ways to sort of change the layouts and things, but this layout right here is just the traditional classic layout of the Bluemix dashboard. You'll see in a second that on the left-hand side is a sort of sidebar that has information about the space that I'm using. In the top third here is a list of actions I can take right now. That is, I'm going to create an application or begin some project in Bluemix. And on the lower third, the bottom of this page, is all the applications I've built. So you'll see none, and it might have something there about creating a new application down there as well. But for me, it's a list of my applications, and it's actually got some information about the applications, including what was it written in. This one's written in Python, this one's in Node, the name, is the application running right now, and so forth. So there's a little bit of information, sort of shorthand information there. At the top here is a kind of a card view of the essential first steps for creating an application. You notice here, Cloud Foundry app. If I want to create an application in Bluemix, I can choose one of these. I have something in mind. In other words, I'm already sort of a DevOps guy, and I have a Docker container with workload. I would start with a container. Most of you perhaps will start by creating an app. So when you create an application in Bluemix, it says, what kind of app are you actually creating? Are you creating a web app, or are you creating a mobile app? Now, if you don't know, I think web apps is a better way to go. But you're now going down a path that will help in a sort of wizard-like way to supply you with the correct, what is the language you're going to use, what are the services you're going to use, what is the runtime, and so forth. Let me go back to the back. So that's a whole world into itself, and if you all want to ask questions going down that road, how do I create my application, or Ian, can you go a little bit further in application creation, we can do that. There's a lot of information out there about that. But I'm going to go back just to the general dashboard. So these right here are the actions. I'm in here. I want to create my application right now. I'm going to take one of these paths right here. Probably many of you will be creating an app, and it will probably be a web app. Most are. Most of mine are. A mobile app is a sort of a special species of application. Up here on the right, I think Serena toured this a little bit here, but your profile information is right here. So we already talked about the fact that the amount of time you have, the trial you have is winding down here at the little calendar view. In here, there's information about my own account, including what region I'm using. So the data centers that are actually hosting these applications I'm going to be building, where are they exactly? I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, and so I'm using the region of the U.S. South, and it makes things kind of more solid and perhaps a little bit faster. All over the dashboard, there's information. There's both sort of ways to build things, but also places to learn about what else is offered here. So what I do a whole lot is I drop into my dashboard, and then I go browse catalog of services. This is the catalog of stuff in Bluemix that you're going to use with communication. I'm in a conference room where the connection's a little bit slow, so this is going to take a while to refresh. But when I go to this catalog, you'll see that this is like you're a cook, and this is a grocery store. All of the services that you may use, the boilerplates and so forth that you may use when you build an application are in the catalog here. Alongside of it, we won't go into them, but community is a link to the Bluemix Developer Center. That's where you can interact with other Bluemix developers and learn about in much more detail about the services. There's a doc library, which you can go look at in a second, and solutions is an IBM.com page that describes some of the kind of higher level ways that higher level purposes to which Bluemix is being put. I am not succeeding getting to the catalog right now. Am I beaming through? We're coming through still, right? The signal's going through.
Yep, you are coming through. And actually, while we're waiting for that, Ian, I have a couple of more technical type questions that have come through. Would you mind terribly if I asked you those as we're waiting for your pages to load? Fantastic. Okay, so the first question is coming from an individual who is wondering about Node.js. He says, I need help getting the Node.js SDK working with a couple of APIs, specifically dialogue and translation. Question is, are there any more example pieces of code to look at? And I believe that those are around the Node.js SDK. Is there anywhere that you can point him for help on example pieces of code?
Yeah, actually that's a nice segue. Did we time that perfectly? That's a wonderful question.
Nice.
Catalog, and one of the best ways to sort of get started quickly. So if you look at the left side of my screen, there's various ways to organize all of the things that are in Bluemix, but the best one when you get started, the best way to get the most done with one click is to use a boilerplate. And I'm not quite sure if this answers the question. It may be that the question is so technical it's going to go into the Node.js SDK itself, but in terms of how a particular runtime or a framework is going to work with a particular set of services with some actual application code. The best way to just kind of go open up the hood of a car and go look inside is to use one of these boilerplates. So in principle, there are various individual services organized in all sorts of ways here. There's runtimes, including there's a Django runtime, ASP runtime, a Node runtime. The boilerplate is actually a kind of a composition of a runtime with a set of services that are quite commonly used on that runtime, and some application code, a sort of hello world application code that brings them together. So it may be, I'm not much of a Node person, I use it a little bit, but one way to go find out a sort of reference implementation of any runtime like Node is to go use, I'm getting an error right here, is to go start with a boilerplate. So the boilerplate is like, it's an application, it already has the runtime, and that runtime is already bound to a couple services. So in this case, the two services that are bound here are the Cloud and DB and then some monitoring service. The way that the Node application interacts with the runtime itself and with these services and the binding of them is included in the runtime, so in the boilerplate. So when you actually start with the boilerplate, you give it a name and you save it into your workspace. You can pull it down with Git, or you can browse it. You can edit it online with the IBM DevOps services. But when you do so, I sort of hope the answer's in there because I'm not sure about those particular services on Node, but I often recommend that boilerplates are the way to kind of see how the stuff actually fits together at a higher level.
Awesome.
I hope that answers the question.
Cool. Campbell, let us know if that doesn't answer it. And then I have a couple other questions from this fellow. Ian, let me know if you'd like me to move on with those or if you have other things that you think would be helpful to show in the catalog first.
My wish is just to serve, Serena. We can go anywhere. Let's ask those questions. I mean, what I want to let me just conclude the sort of quick 50,000-foot view by saying there's a lot in here. I think Bluemix does a very good job of sort of pointing in the right direction. I can't do much better of a job at that, but let's by all means have those questions and see if I can sort of point at the right answer. So if there are other more general questions, we can take them. I'm going to hand this over to Leah in a second, but we can spend a minute or two on those. And I'll just wind up. I don't have anything more to show than just like here's a tour. Here's the front of Bluemix. So
that sounds great. So okay, so the next question I have is, what type of database is best to use to store simple data objects like a person's name or address, etc., parsed from a Watson service?
Oh my.
Well, these are great technical questions. I think the most just kind of vanilla service in here, there's something called Object Store. I think it's just called Bluemix Object Store. Where is that sucker? Object storage right here is what many people use for like just key value pair storage. So you have something and it has this key and that value. There's NoSQL, there's SQL, there's all kinds of things in here. If you have some particular domain, like if you really like using SQL, you can use a SQL database. But I think when people just have a kind of I'm going to get a bunch of key value pairs out of Watson, out of some analytics service, I think people use object storage a whole lot. That's been my experience. Don't know more than that though.
All right, cool. So again, if you need more specific answers to that question, Leah and I can point you in the direction of where to get more technical help.
That's right. But let me say one more point too, Serena, and that is one of the things, again, Bluemix, there's a lot in here, but one of the things there's quite a lot of in here is sort of inline documentation. So, almost at every point when you're looking at a particular service or a particular boilerplate that composes some services and runtimes, the documentation, I was going to go point, and you can see in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, there's a doc library. That's when you're sort of going in from the top. But all of the documentation about, the detailed reference documentation about these services is inline. So often the business of sort of adding a service is where you can get to the details about that service and the APIs that are there and so forth. And then in addition, of course, DevelopWorks has all of these tutorials about particular services and runtimes that people are using. You can see what I just did there was I chose the Object Store service, and then I went to view the documentation, and in a different tab, I was going to point this out anyway, in the different tab, you've got the information about this service and sort of how to interact with it.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. That's really helpful. 2 more questions, and then we'll keep going. So, next question is, are the IBM Bluemix services available offline? Internet access can be spotty in disaster situations.
Oh, what a good question. What? All I know is I've just heard this. There's a buzz about offline. I don't even know what it means. In other words, one hears around the office reference to offline, but I don't know what that is actually. So I don't actually know. Except that there's it's a sort of water cooler thing. Hey, Bluemix offline. Well, I don't want to.
Okay, cool. That's a good answer. So we will, for that question, perhaps Leah and I can take that offline ourselves and find out the answer to that and post that back into the discussion board for everybody so that we can address that one. Okay, last question that I've got here. What are the benefits of the other Watson services and databases? What are the use cases for services like Alchemy API, trade-off analytics, and relationship extraction? I'm not sure how well we're going to be able to answer this one on the fly right here, but I'll certainly push it over to you guys in case you're able to help with that.
This may sound sort of markety. That's all I know how to talk about. My only real sense of Watson is sort of as a set of principles around these services, and that is, the sort of cognitive, like the Alchemy APIs and some of the sort of personality insights and things, as far as I'm aware, the ease with which Bluemix lets you interact with these quite sophisticated, natural language classifiers and personality insights tools, I don't know of an alternative for sort of getting your sleeves rolled up and interacting with Watson, or with a kind of a large AI like this. So. The benefits, I would say, for me, I've sort of monkeyed around with the Watson APIs a little bit, and the fact that you can sort of be interacting with Watson or make a little application, like we just built a sample application that takes the box APIs, so you store Moby Dick as a file in your box.com account, and then you point the personality insights from Watson at that text, and it tells you about the personality of Herman Melville. It's like, holy burrito, that is like a great way to to sort of figure out what Watson's doing. So I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but
there's a documentation about the individual services, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Through Bluemix, and is that in the catalog or is that in docs?
I have on my screen right now. You notice that the services are broken up into categories, and you can see what I've done is this is multi-select. So on my screen, it happens that I've got 2 categories of services selected. Watson right now, it was always the case that Watson was this really big sort of baling wire thing. It's a lot of different systems, natural language processing and parsing and so forth. A lot of those are coming online as services in Bluemix. You can see quite a lot of them here. So this is like 20 services, all of which are constituent parts of Watson. So I think one of the advantages is that people don't need the Watson. What they need is visual recognition. They're going to go scan images, and so the fact that you have kind of atomic access to that aspect of Watson that lets you scan an image and say, there's the face, and it's a nice face, is I think one of the big benefits of Bluemix. So yes, Leah, to your point, these are services. Watson isn't a monolithic service. It's actually a composition of now, dozens of services, any one of which you can employ in an application for some specific purpose you have in mind. And I'm sorry, I'll just go on and on here. As for use cases, I mean, we keep hearing about things that people are doing with Watson. Like this whole idea of cognitive computing is new to us. People are doing all these bananas things with Watson APIs. So the use cases are changing every day radically.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for those helpful. And Campbell, the individuals those questions, Leah and I will also pitch those questions to the DeveloperWorks team to see if we can get any deeper clarification on those. And if you have additional questions, please feel free to post them either here or on the discussion board on the site so we can address those for you as well. All right, so if there aren't any more questions for Ian, kind of working through that dashboard, and if there are, please feel free to bring them up as we're going along. Leah, they're doing a little changeover on their side right now, so I'll just keep talking. But Leah is going to be taking us through, a little bit of the overview of those materials that Ian so lovely presented, and some ideas on what apps might be able to be used using those Watson services. So Leah, take it away.
All right, thank you, Serena. Let's see if I've got the technology down here. Oh, and then I start screen share.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
And then quickly move off of here because then it'll go into infinite. Yeah, let's go to like a tab.
Okay. All right. So I'm Leah Kettering, and I'm with DeveloperWorks, and I am putting together the Bluemixathon. Thank you for joining us. What I want to do is take you through some of the Bluemix materials that we have referenced on the Bluemixathon dev post page and drill down a little deeper to help you get a more in-depth view of what Bluemix can do, some ideas on how to familiarize yourself with the different services. Ian did a fantastic, I'm very impressed, Ian, did a fantastic job overviewing the dashboard, but we do have some videos from other experts who have gone through the soup to nuts explanation on how to build a Bluemix app, and then point you to other resources available through DeveloperWorks and through the developer centers that can help you get some of the questions answered that we're not able to answer, and just find out more details on what can be done. So if you go to, let's see. So hopefully you guys are seeing the top of the Bluemixathon page. All right. So I am going to go over to resources and click on that section. This is really the material that I want to talk to you about. What you will see, I just want to put in a plug for our native language speakers. You will see at the very top that we do have a lot of the Bluemixathon materials that have been translated into Chinese and have been translated into Japanese. And so if you click on those links, that takes you to a translated section of this English content that has been updated with links into our local sites, our site that is specific to the Chinese language and our site that is specific to the Japanese language. But for the context of this work session, I'm really going to drill down into the English material. So the first item we have here is just a very popular webinar that was created by David Barnes on demonstrating 10-minute demo of what Bluemix can do. And he really walks you through a soup to nuts, choosing a runtime, selecting a service, and then deploying the app. He has a very simple use case and talks about how all the different pieces and parts within the dashboard fit together, and he's actually displaying his application by the end of the video. So I would encourage you to take a look at this. He has a lot of other videos about very high-level Bluemix capabilities. He is a very strong speaker, very well-versed in Bluemix concepts. So if you have not had a chance to look at that video, I do encourage you to take 10 minutes and just watch this video. Then if you scroll down a little further, under tutorials, docs, and sample apps, what we've tried to do here is pull out best of breed material we have from DeveloperWorks. If you're not familiar with DeveloperWorks, it is IBM's online resource for IT professionals as well as developers. And so we tried to figure out what were some of the common problems or common questions that you might have in beginning with Bluemix, and link you down into the pages on Bluemix and on the Bluemix developer community that would help you get answers to those questions. So our first link here to check out the Getting Started with Bluemix, this is a free online course that we launched about 2 months ago, and it's been very well received among our developers. It's a very high-level view of Bluemix fundamentals, goes into some of the concepts of cloud computing, as well as cloud computing using the Bluemix platform, and some of the services that are available both from IBM and outside IBM, services available through Bluemix, some of the container details that you may want to know, as well as Cloud Foundry, and finally some best practices for setting up your application on the Bluemix platform. This is free of charge. It takes about 8 hours to complete, and like I said, it is something that has been very well received among our developer community so far. The next item that I have is so let's say you just need a very high-level overview of the Bluemix platform in general. So if you click on this link, you will be taken to basically our one-stop shop on DeveloperWorks for everything Bluemix. So here's where we have tried to collect from the thousands of articles and demos that we have on DeveloperWorks the ones that have been most popular among our developer community and have gotten the best reviews. So what you see here are some example apps. These are developers who have written articles about how they created a particular application using one or more Bluemix service. And in some cases, if you click on an article, you can scroll down and you have the option to see the app, run the app. You have the option to see the app in action, and then you can get the code and maybe do some reverse engineering if there's something within that code that you think would fit into your candidate app. Borrow and reuse is the name of the game. So anyway, these are a number of spotlights. These change regularly as we get new ideas in, so I would encourage you to bookmark this page as just an overall resource, and you can see that goes through different events that are available maybe in your area, as well as some of the community links so that you can hook up with other developers who are doing things in Bluemix. So then we have, under the Quick Start tab, we have some demos that just show, again, here's David Barnes at the very top. We have some demos that kind of launch you into creating Bluemix apps in very little time. These are very simple apps, but it's done by the developer. They are demoed, and then oftentimes are related to a particular article that gives you a little more in-depth information about the particular app that the demo is talking about. So we have tried to provide quick start tutorials on some of the major tasks that people may be interested in doing. So you can just go through here, and depending upon what you want to do, what kind of platform you want to be working on, you may find a demo that showcases an application that is very close to what you are thinking about adding yourself. Let's see. So the next thing is, okay, so I covered the demos, and then the next thing is about the Bluemix services. So here we have the different services that are available on Bluemix that have tutorials that we have created on DeveloperWorks. So if you go down here, for example, let's say you're interested in Watson, you're interested in the Personality Insights service, what happens is it takes you to a page that has some top tutorials about this service, and then provides some additional resources here. So this, if you review one of the services in the Bluemix catalog and you decide that that's something that you might be interested in applying to your disaster application, you would want to go over to DeveloperWorks and see if we have a tutorial or a demo on that particular service. So Bluemix Fundamentals, this is a article that was published earlier this month. This is a very popular article, just a very simple how to get started with Bluemix. And Bobby Wolf is one of our lead developers on Bluemix and has been very helpful in fielding a lot of questions from us as well as our customers. So he is very knowledgeable on the technology. And then finally, okay, Bluemix, okay, webcasts and videos. These are different replays of webcasts that are done around the world. So you can, if watching and learning is your thing, this is the area for you. So we also have what we call DW Answers, and this is a forum that is found on the DeveloperWorks Developer Center, Bluemix Developer Center, and it is a place where developers, both inside and outside of IBM, come to ask questions and answer questions. I also need to say that we have a very strong community on Stack Overflow, and so if you go to Stack Overflow and search for Bluemix, you will find a lot of information there. So I would encourage you, if you have a technical question about Bluemix, to attach it to DW Answers, but you may also want to put it out on Stack Overflow because there may be a wider range of individuals who are following that, that topic on Stack Overflow. But this link here takes you to an Ask a Question on DW Answers, and what we've done is we have pre-filled it with the Bluemixathon tag. Oh dear, why is this not? Okay.
It might be just because it's so slow it didn't catch it.
Okay.
In this room, the connection.
Okay, so when I tested it on my computer earlier, it did have Bluemixathon added, but you want to make sure that you do add it, tag it as Bluemixathon. Because what this does is this alerts myself and several other people in the DeveloperWorks group that this is a question coming in from the contest. And that means that it is very time sensitive because we're aware that you guys now have 21 days to build those candidate applications. So, so we want to make sure that you get your answer as quickly as possible. And so tag it Bluemixathon. It will be sent to a number of us who are watching the incoming questions. fill in your details, and then we will be getting back with you to either clarify the question, make sure we understand exactly what you're asking, or better yet, with the answer. So please don't hesitate to use that.
That's cool.
You can also go up here. Ian, you're going to have to keep me honest here.
If you go to Spaces and pull down Spaces, the Bluemix is one of the means.
Okay, so if you go to Spaces, what you see, this is a pre-filtered grouping of DW answer question and answers. So if you click on Bluemix Spaces, you will see that we're now up over 6,000 questions and hopefully answers to any inquiry that has been entered and tagged with Bluemix. So this would be a really good resource for you as well. So if you have a question that you've tagged with Bluemixathon, you may also want to tag it as Bluemix so that it goes out into the developer works DW answers sphere, so that the top DW users can be looking at your question, as well as a few of us who have stepped up to watch for any that are tagged Bluemixathon.
We've updated so that link does that. It drops it into the smart space. And
that would be great. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah. So anyway, and then should I say, Ian, anything about the Stack Overflow questions? Because I know that's really a focus right now, trying to get people to use not only the DW answers but the Stack Overflow.
Yeah, I think Stack, well, Bluemixathon, tag equals Bluemixathon. Things about this program and about Bluemix as an offering, I think, are absolutely best answered in DW Answers, where we have all the answers. But questions about services and about cloud platforms and platforms as a service, I think Stack Overflow, just because they pounce on things there, like if you go to Stack Overflow and tagged it Bluemix and also tagged it platform as a service or something, it maybe you're going to get a real brisk answer there. I think either is available, but certainly for Bluemixathon, that stuff is going to be answers, just because that's all are the experts.
Yes. And so anything specific to how it relates to a disaster app, do pump it through DW Answers with the tag of Bluemixathon. But we do offer not only DW Answers, but also the Stack Overflow Bluemix filter as another resource for getting developer input on whatever your question is.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let me go back and see what I've missed. Then I have some third-party APIs that are referenced here. I really don't have a lot to say about these. These are more for your help in your assistance in getting started. Just some APIs that we found in a very quick search of the web, APIs that are related to data that would help with disaster relief and recovery, so you can take a look at that. Serena, I don't know if we have any questions related to our resources?
Yeah, so I haven't seen any questions come in yet, but please, if anyone does have any questions about any of the resources that Leah just spoke about, please feel free to post those. You can also certainly post them if you're watching this later on in the discussion board on the Bluemixathon site. So I'll keep watching for those questions, but at this point, since we don't have any specific ones, why don't I go ahead and show folks how to actually submit their application if they're towards that part, so they can see a little preview of how that's going to work. And then we do have a few questions that had come in previous to this webinar that we'll address after that. Does that sound okay for everybody?
Sounds good.
All right, cool. So I'm going to, Leah, if you could just go ahead and click that stop share link at the top of your screen, and I will take screencast back. No worries. Okay. Just hold on for that for a minute.
I believe I'm not screen sharing. There we go.
There we go. Okay, cool. All right, everybody. So I am going to just real quick walk you through how you can actually go about submitting your application. And so bear with me just 1 second while I share my screen for you. And like I said, if you have any questions about anything that Leah had talked about or that we talked about previously, please feel free to throw those questions into the QA box. So we're back here on the DevPost site, and I'm still logged in, and I've already registered, so I'm getting this lovely enter submission and look for teammates box. I am going to say that I'm ready to enter a submission at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and click that button. And what it's going to do is say, hey, do you want to add a project, a brand new project, or do you want to add something from your portfolio? So I don't actually have a portfolio full of software pieces because I myself am not a software developer. So I'm going to assume that I'm submitting on the behalf of my wonderful software development team. I'm going to click Add a New Project. And what it's going to do is just kind of ask me to run through a bunch of different little questions. You'll see that you can import from GitHub at the top of the screen. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to walk through. I'm going to call this Test, since it is a required field. Save and continue. And then you're going to see a number of different things that you need to put in. So an elevator pitch, which is a real quick short tagline on what your submission is. I'm going to put test in there for now. One thing that's very important, so it's built with Bluemix. That's what it's built with. And then you can also enter any other service you want, but make sure that you're tagging Bluemix in this so that you can be featured on any of the Bluemix galleries that we have. Here is also where you're going to add any team members. So if you've been working with another person, you can go ahead and add their email address here, and it's going to send them an invite to be a part of your team. Down the way, this is where you're going to enter your text description. We have offered a number of starter questions for you. You can use these if you want. You can also remove them either way. And then so you're going to talk about what is your submission, what did you do? Right here you can add a URL for how to access your submission. We also have a way for you to upload or send us a beta iOS file if that's what you've chosen to do. You'll be able to upload an image, and although it does not say it's required here, please note that it is required to add a demo video for your submission. So once you do that, you'll be walking through what exactly your submission does. So since I don't have that and we're just testing, I'm not going to put that in, but make sure that you have a demo video before the deadline. That's very important. Whoops. Alrighty. Go back here. All right, so here I am. I'm on the second step. So over here, step 2, this is important. These are the Bluemixathon specific questions that we have. So what type of submitter are you? What category are you entering into? Where are you from? What's your organization name? How should we test your application? What data sets did you use? What is your Bluemix ID? All of these important things are going to be on this page. So these are more kind of the behind-the-scenes pieces. The first page is really kind of the nuts and bolts of your submission, and you'll see here that there's also a place to upload an APK file or any other install file that you want. So once you've filled all that out, you go ahead and click Submit, and that's going to submit it to the online hackathon. At that point, you will still be able to edit your submission as many times as you want, as long as the submission deadline has not yet passed. So it's pretty quick and easy. I would definitely encourage you to start these early and go ahead and submit early. Like I said, you can still keep editing them, but that way there won't be any surprises for you at the end. You didn't know you had to create a video or something like that. You don't need to deal with that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting. Alrighty. So now we're back on. So at this point, I'm just going to ask if there are any additional questions from viewers that we have right now that may be about the submission process, about anything we've discussed so far. And if not, then we'll go ahead and talk through the questions that came through previously.
So Serena, I'm not a viewer, but I do have a question.
Sure.
Are we going to give tips on how to begin for those people who might not have an idea?
I'm sorry, Leah, I couldn't quite hear you when you were speaking there. Can you repeat your question?
We were going to give tips to, we wanted to give tips to people who maybe didn't have an idea on how to get started, like how to use a particular Watson service.
Yeah, that's a great one. So I'm actually going to hand that back to you, Leah. So one of the questions that came in previously is around, what type of Watson services or Bluemix services specifically should I be looking at to integrate into my application? Are there any tips for that? We've provided a little bit of information, but Leah can take it from there and add a little bit more color.
Okay, great. Let me share my screen. Ooh.
And Leah, just to be cognizant of time, we've got about 5 more minutes in the time we've allotted, so we can probably talk through as needed as well.
Okay. Well, if you go to the discussion under Bluemixathon, DevPost under discussions, we had a post. Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Updates. I think it's under the Updates tab.
Updates. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
About a month ago, we reviewed with the Watson, because Watson is such a hot topic, people are very interested in it, went through some of the Watson services and tried to just brainstorm what could be done, in building a disaster app using this particular service. So pro tips and curated tools from the Bluemix engineering team. So under each of the services that we, in our brainstorming session could come up with ideas on, what we've done is we've just said Watson Tone Analyzer. Well, you could be used in apps that help people calm down or deal with trauma by analyzing the tone of their written communications. Identify, who's freaking out and who's calm, and you can work with them. So under each of these services, we just tried to give you some ideas on what could be done. And then we've got some general tips on how to get started.
Cool. Thanks so much, Leah. That's really helpful. And like she said, that is all listed on the Bluemixathon site, on the DevPost site, under Updates. You might want to check through there from time to time. You should be getting all of those notes via your email. They should be coming to you directly, but just in case you've missed anything or you would like some additional information, you can find all of the emails that we send out to everyone listed under Updates, kind of blog post style, so you can see them there. All right, so we're still waiting for a few more questions, but just a few plugs while we are waiting, and then we will try to log off to give you guys the rest of your day back. If you have more questions after we end this webinar, there's a number of ways that you can get them answered. Number one, you can submit them on the DW Answers forum, as Leah pointed out and showed us. Number two, you can post them onto the discussion board that's listed on the bluemixathon.devpost.com site. And number three, you can email us directly at support.devpost.com, and we'll be happy to direct your question from there. Don't forget that the submission deadline is November 11th at 5 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, I really encourage you to submit early and keep on editing as you go. And don't forget that you can form teams. You can list all your teammates on the first page, so that shouldn't be a problem there, but if you have questions about that submission process, you just let us know. And finally, if you find that your Bluemix trial is set to expire, maybe you haven't actually received that extension, just let us know. Send us your Bluemix ID, which is typically the email that you use to sign in. You can send that to support@devpost.com, and we will go ahead and help you get that extended. Of course, if there's any other questions that come up or any technical questions that you would like answered that you didn't think you got answered today, please let us know. We're more than happy to provide resources for you as best as we can. Anything else to add from you, Leah or Ian?
Not for me, thank you.
For me.
Okay. All right, wonderful. Well, I think that's going to go ahead and end our webinar today. We really are thankful for everybody who took the time to tune in, and for everybody who is watching this after the fact. Please don't hesitate to send us your questions. We are very excited to see your applications, and we hope to talk to you all very soon. All right, with that, I'm going to stop our broadcast. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks, y'all. See you.